Hey Nicole,
Hey.
turn your volume up a little bit. Can barely hear you.
Okay.
I, that's better. Still waiting on Dr. Lamb. So you've had a busy day.
Woo. Yeah, trying to test 262 10th graders.
What
Woo.
grade?
10th
10th graders. Okay. What
yeah,
kind of test was it?
pre-ACT.
Oh, pre-ACT. Okay. They seem to that seems to be what they're using more than anything else now is the ACT versus it used to be the SAT and it was the pre-S the PSAT, and you don't hear that much about that anymore. I mean, not as much.
We did the PSAT, but it was optional. The kids could choose to do it if they wanted to, and like if they were going to governor's school or something like that, then they had to have the PSAT.
Okay.
But it was completely elective to take it or not.
Yeah. In the day, there was no choice. The ACT was actually, you know, you didn't even think about taking the ACT because it was not accepted in the
Right.
day. So
We
that's
had to have the SAT.
yeah. But Dr. Lamb joined us. Yeah, I looked at your stuff. Um, it's you've it's everything is doable. So
Go ahead.
even your framework, and he'll look at that. It's I know it's a work in progress, but it's not going to be once you can settle down and just get your mind focused on it. All that's going to come together uh, much easier anyway. But that actually will be those 20 slides will be you'll have to prepare a notebook with for chapters 1, 2, and 3, and we want that to be as clean as it can be. We don't want because you never know who's going to show up, and we want to make sure that it's as authentic as it can be. But the main thing is going to be the slide presentation and how being able to knowing what you're talking about from the slide presentation, being able to talk the talk. So that is going to be the main thing that'll be the main focus for the proposal part of it. But again, you're going to be able to pull all that together. You're not going to have any problem with it.
Okay, you sent an email that I think it was to me, but it said Doug.
Okay, I probably today.
Uh-huh.
What did it say?
It said
About January?
yes.
Okay, I sent it to the wrong person then. I didn't realize that. Okay, thank you for telling me that. Disregard that, and I will go back and resend because I had looked because it had an attachment with some of his work on there then.
No, there was no attachment, so I didn't see any of his work. There was no attachment.
It wouldn't have mattered, but I don't know how I did that. Anyway, thank you for telling me that. Because I was sending you something. I was working at the same time back and forth with some stuff when I got in this afternoon, and so that may have been that was one of them Freudian slips that I just need to make sure that I've sent him what he needs. But now I did in you know what? Come to think of it, I think my phone rang and I think I didn't. Anyway, I don't think Doug ever got what he was supposed to get, and I don't think I ever went back and did the attachment anyway. So, but thank you for telling me that. I need to make a note to send it when I get through. Send email, Doug. Okay. Sometime. Dr. Lamb is usually, he's usually already waiting on me when I sign in. He must have a. Let me ask him, does he have his information? Information. Hey, I just want to make sure you haven't forgot about us. Okay. I knew I had sent that information out yesterday, and I know you have a million things on your plate. Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure. I knew. Okay. 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 Bye. He's joining us now.
Okay.
That's what I feel like I could do. I guess the weather and my sinuses have bothered me, and I have been so sleepy this afternoon. And that blood pressure medicine I have to take makes me sleepy too. So
yes, it does.
Yeah.
Blood pressure medicine make you tired.
I'm going back. I've got an appointment with her in the morning. I'm going to see if she'll lower my dosage, and I think I'm going to see if she'll try me on another one. So another kind. It's I wish I didn't have to take it at all.
Well, I got to do what you got to do to get rid of mine. I've got to lose weight like you've done.
Well,
you've done a good job.
Well, if I do like I did at lunch today, I won't. I ate too much at lunch today, but I'll do a light supper tonight. I won't eat hardly. I'll eat very, very little tonight. So, but anyway, I've had to go. Can't wear hardly any of my clothes anymore. I've had to start looking for. I can wear my shirts. So I've had to get new pants. So
new pants.
There's Dr. Lamb. Yeah. And my suits are not fitting me right anymore. So.
Oh my goodness.
But anyway, hey, Dr. Lamb.
Hello.
Hey.
Dr. Lamb, do you remember Nicole?
I do.
Okay, she was with the MLS program in Fayetteville.
Yep, I remember.
I thought you would. But he's getting ready to be Santa Claus, Nicole. He really does. He really does. He does this every year.
Oh, okay. So really,
he really is Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm. I am the real deal.
Yes, Nicole, there really is a Santa Claus.
That's great.
Oh, me.
That would be me. My wife hates this. I start praying for cold weather about the 1st of September when I start this, but I've not been lucky so far this year.
No.
But I believe it's coming, though.
Yeah, I think it'll get here.
I believe it's coming. Dr. Lamb, did you get to look at any? I know you've been busy.
I read it all.
You looked at it all of it. Okay. Okay. Okay.
I read it all, and then I scheduled dinner with Dr. Hamilton. He had an event tonight, so he came back, and so he didn't read it, but I did, and then I discussed it with him.
Okay.
And I have
Let me do this. Let me under managed participant, because I'm sure you've got something. Let me take that over.
I do.
Make you the host. So, okay.
Just like I do this for a living.
Okay. Well, you would think that I've worked with you a little while too, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm. All right. So here is the structure of the conventional dissertation, and so I'm sure you have that. And so,
Nicole, you do remember me sending that, right?
Yes,
that
sir.
document. Okay.
All right. So following the outline of this, what I have done is, here's what let me go to new share. Come on. You can do it. So what I've done is I have put together your proposal defense slide show what your 20 slides should be. And so we'll just kick it off. Now remember, this follows the format of that conventional dissertation slide that he sent to you. So we'll start with it and we'll go right down the line, and I'll get to our concerns here in just a minute. But anyway.
Okay.
All right. Slide 1 is your title page, has your title on it, Gardner Webb and your name. Slide 2 is your problem statement, your hook. What makes your study worthwhile? Why do we need for you to do this study, other than for partial degree fulfillment requirements, other than so that you can get finished? Why is it important to do your study? And that should not be something that takes you an hour to tell us. It should be a straightforward sentence or two. Remember, you've got a 30-word limit on these slides. You need to tell us what your problem statement is, and that'll take half of your words right there. And then you need to tell us, what your hook is. I mean, why it's important for you to do this study.
Okay.
All right. Can you tell me that in 15 words or less?
That's the part I've got to work on, the 15 words or less. I'm very wordy.
Talk to him about at this point, what is your problem statement though, Nicole?
Schools are implementing PBIS. And a lot of times when programs are implemented, teacher input really isn't asked for or desired. A lot of times it's a push down from the top kind of implementation. And so teachers aren't really buying into a lot of these programs such as PBIS, and they don't have sustainability. So I'm looking at the experience of teachers implementing PBIS in their classroom, and I've gone way over 15 words.
Go ahead and say what you need to say, and then we'll come back.
Okay. And then once we look at how the teachers implement it, we could take the perspective of that 80% buy-in that PBIS says is necessary for sustainability and implementation, and compare it to Poland's framework for implementation, getting that buy-in, getting those teachers on board, since they are the change assets for educational change. That doesn't really sound like a problem, does it?
No. Your problem.
Okay, what I have in there for my problem.
Your problem is that teachers are resistant to change.
Yes,
that's your problem.
Yeah.
Teachers are resistant to change, and you need a statistic that supports that teachers are resistant to change. A statistic that would be 60% of all new initiatives fall through in the first 3 years for lack of buy-in by teachers because they're resistant to change. You need a statistic.
Okay.
That says people are resistant, teachers are resistant to change. That's the problem. Teachers are resistant to change.
Okay.
That's why they don't implement new programs with fidelity or don't want to try new programs. It's because they're resistant to change. And you need a statistic that backs up your assertion that teachers are resistant to change. All right. And then your hook is the second half of that. Your hook is, if we can gather data from teachers that tells us why they don't like,
why they are resistant to change,
why they don't like change, or why they don't like this particular change, which is adopting PBIS, maybe we can avoid some of those pitfalls. Now, we got to be careful here. We can't cross the line if we allow teachers the latitude to change the program. You know, one of the most important things about program implementation is implementing with fidelity. You know, do formative evaluations to make sure that teachers are doing what we ask them to do. If we let teachers change it too much, it won't be what we want. It'll just be what they did before. So we have to be careful here that, you know, when we're collecting data, when we're interviewing these teachers, that the questions are not about, you know, my wife says I have to eat healthier. Well, if I substitute steak for fish and broccoli with cheese for broccoli without cheese and dessert for a rice cake, I don't mind this diet at all. If I can substitute and do the things that I've always done, but just call it something new. And so that's what you have to guard against when you're collecting data like this. I mean, many of the things that they're going to complain about are the actual heart of the program. It's the change. It's getting them to do something different than what they've been doing. What's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over again and expecting different result.
And so what teachers will say is that we tried this new program. Well, did you really? Did you really implement it as you said, or did you modify it along the way? And so what you've got to guard against here is that we don't want to change, and so we'll just basically do what we did before and say we changed. And so your hook is, that goes back to your problem statement. Teachers resistant to change. We've got a statistic that supports that. And that's why new programs fail. Most new program initiatives fail. The hook on this study is if we can define, or we can come up with some information that speaks to implementation of the program that doesn't change the substantive part of it, and basically the timing or the training or something. If we can speak to that, that would be a big help in implementing the program. But one of the things we have to be cautious about is we don't want to collect data that says, all right, if you'll change the program to this, we'll do it. No. That's not the intent. The program is the program. You can't modify or you know, it's kind of like differentiated instruction. You can't do that.
Right.
You can't change it. You got to do these things, but in the context of when you're doing your interviews, we can't change the program, but what could we do to make this part of it easier or more convenient or those kinds of things? We can't keep you from, you know, you can't not do the record keeping. You know, PBIS is pretty heavily based on record keeping.
Yes.
And so the first thing teachers will say, well, if we don't have to keep records, it'd be better. Well, if you don't do that, it's not PBIS. That's like calling steak chicken. I mean, you know, that's not what it is. And so, but what your hook is if we can find out some common things that are causing teachers problem in the actual delivery to them or staff development to them, or the operations that we could tighten up in terms of our management routines of this thing, it would be helpful to other schools moving forward when they implement this. Maybe they wouldn't make the same mistakes, but we can't change the program. That's got to be clear. And when you're going out and interviewing these people, it can't be that, oh, if we'll change this, this, and this about the program. Well, if we did that, it's not the program anymore. So what we're looking for is, I guess, management issues of how we train teachers and how we help them with implementation, or how we facilitate their record keeping. But we can't drop the training. We can't drop the record keeping. We can't drop the reward system. All the reward system's too much. Somebody has to go out and get prizes and all that stuff. But we can't take that part of it out.
Right.
It's only punishment and no reward.
Right.
And you know, PBIS teaches us that both ends of that spectrum are important. But teachers, first thing they'll complain about is it's too much trouble getting all these prizes. Well, then you're not implementing the program. You've changed the concepts of the program. It's no longer PBIS if you don't do some kind of reward system.
Right.
So we have to be sure that, you know, what we're looking for data-wise. I know we don't call what you're collecting data many times, but what we're looking for data-wise is information that will help us in the implementation of the program that doesn't change the program.
Right.
Staff development methodology, how we delivered the staff development to them, how we set up the reward system, how we set up the data keeping system. Maybe we bought some software to help them with that, or you know, some schools use Swiss and some other things to help them with data management. You know, there's a little disciplinary program called Swiss. Now, it does not feed into, you cannot download Swiss into disciplinary data collection through PowerSchool. You cannot do that. And so that's why some districts won't buy it or don't recommend using it, is because you can't just take and then drop that data. It's a double data entry, double duty data entry if you use a program like Swiss.
Yes.
Because Swiss cannot be downloaded into disciplinary data collection for DPI. But Swiss does help in the data collection and the paperwork over the overload of paperwork. It does help with PBIS to use Swiss, that data collection system. So your problem statement is teachers are resistant to change, therefore 60% of new initiatives fail. The reason why this study is worth doing is that we're going to try to find delivery models, staff development delivery models, paperwork, overhead, those kinds of things. Look for commonalities and those things that we could maybe suggest or change in future implementations that would help other schools that are seeking to implement this program. That's the value in this study.
Okay.
Remember, you cannot change PBIS. That's not one of the options.
And I wasn't going down that road.
But you got to be careful with that. In that we're just going to collect this data from these teachers and we're going to do what they say to do. No, you have to shape that data. I know that sounds like you got your thumb on the scale. It's not really, but it can't be about, we don't like this part, so let's not do this part. And that's exactly what they're going to, if you give them the option, if it's open-ended, that's the first thing they're going to tell you is, we don't want to do that reward system. It's too much. Or we don't want to keep all that paperwork. You know, that's too much. We don't want to do the bouncing from class to class. That's too much. I don't want somebody sending their troubles to me. That's too much.
Right.
You know, but if you don't do those things, and all three of those particular things, then it's not PBIS.
Right.
They can't, you've got to shape the conversations that you're going to have. There are more conversations. In a phenomenology, it's more of a conversation than it is an interview. But you have to shape that conversation so that you get the kind of data that's helpful and not just, these are the parts of the program I don't think we ought to have. Because that's exactly what they're going to give you. Now, Dr. Hamilton is an expert in phenomenology. He did his dissertation, and his work is in phenomenology, and so I defer to him, and I talked with him through dinner, and that's one of the, moving to number 3, conceptual framework. This title does not exactly fit phenomenology. PBIS is not a phenomenon, by the way, but if you stick to what I just told you under the problem statement and the hook, you'll be fine. We can go for it. But if you start collecting data that says fix this part of the program or change that part, it definitely is not a phenomenology.
Okay, let me tell you what my idea is in my mind, and I've explained this to Dr. Stedman. I start off in the beginning explaining the problem of discipline in the classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I start off with that. I start off and I say, and it says the research showing that the teacher's perceptions about the behavior of the child and the behaviors taking place in the classroom and their perception of that can change the outcomes of how they implement behavior interventions, okay? So what I was looking at doing was taking their experiences with implementing PBIS and letting them not change the program, but, you know, I even have guided questions.
Mm-hmm.
to go along with you know, I want to know their experiences in terms of implementing PBIS, the context and situations that have influenced or affected their experiences implementing PBIS. So did they have the PBIS teams? Was it a top-down implementation? Do they have support, continued support? Was this a instant implementation, or have they been trained with the small group training programs like DPI has the PBIS folks come out and train you? Those kind of things. How was it implemented? So I was looking at those 4 phases of change. Initiation, how was it initiated? How was it implemented? Was it just thrown out at you? Was it staged, small chunked implementation? The continuation of it. Is this a process that you're continuing to work on and continuing to build on? Or, you know, is it stagnant? Has it stayed here at this one spot? And what's the outcome? Have you seen a decrease in behavioral incidences in your classroom due to how this was implemented? And I'm not looking at quantitative data. I'm just looking at the teacher saying, hey, yeah, it really has improved my classroom because I was given the support I needed through our school PBIS team in order to, you know, implement the bounce, in order to implement the positive changes and things I wanted to take place in my classroom. And all of us working together as a school in those common areas have decreased the behavior issues we've seen in the common areas.
My question would be, no, it's not really a question. My comment would be, my follow-up question to the answer that you just gave would be, can you define what support means, what that support was? And so at the end, what you can't come out of your dissertation with is, if school support change, they happen more frequently and are sustained longer. We already know that. What we're talking about is what kind of support you were given.
Okay, so if you were given the PBIS teams, or if you were given the PLC groups or whatever.
What did they do?
Okay.
What's the content? I mean, if we just form a group that says, all right, we're your support group. What did they do to support? Well, we don't know what to do to support you. We're just your support group. And so what I'm afraid of is you're going to just come away with this again with what we already know, which is if we support change, it's more likely to catch on and be permanent. And if we don't, it isn't. But what we need to know is the content of that support. And that's why I said these are more discussions than they are, you know, I have a list of questions I need to ask you, and I just write down what you need is follow up, is a conversation. All right, you say that you had support in this. Can you tell me what that support consisted of? Can you tell me what support? Now, all right. So that's where the richness of data comes in.
Okay.
In what you're doing. All right. Your conceptual frameworks, phenomenology, you've defined that well. I pulled up another document here and read through it myself, but that's immaterial. All right. Your research questions, are you going to do the 2 standard research questions from phenomenology?
Yes.
Yeah. So significance of the study, what you hope to achieve. And what you hope to achieve would be that better or easier implementation and staying power of PBIS. I guess that's what you're hoping to do. If you give people hints and help about how to implement it and support it, that it will be implemented better and will stick around longer, I guess, is the significance of your study.
And that is, it goes back to the fidelity of it.
Yeah. All right. And then methodology. Tell me how you gonna collect this data?
Okay. I have the 2 research questions, and I came up with some like guiding questions to kind of guide.
Where'd they come from?
Well, I looked at other phenomenologies that were done and kind of based mine on that. So I'm going to have to do a validation, like a little pilot study to kind of validate them and get feedback from several folks on that. And I was thinking maybe 3 to 5 people. Could you do 3 to 5?
Can you not find somebody that's already done this and find some guiding questions from them that's already out there?
Not that specific to PBIS.
Okay. Well, then you're going to need to do a focus group, and you probably need about 5 people to validate your instrument. Yeah, you're going to need to do that.
And
all right.
Dr. Lamb, and that'll all have to be included in her IRB process. Am I right? If she's doing a focus group, that will have to be approved through IRB as well. Is that correct? Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But now, on this slide number 6, all you tell us here is that you've designed a set of prompts and that you're going to administer to teachers. All right, we're going to, when we get down here to chapter 3, which starts with slide 15, we're going to get deeper into that methodology. Right. But this is just the overview of your methodology here.
Right.
All right, so I'll save my questions or my issues till we get to chapter 3 here. Let's finish up chapter 1. You got your terms. You've already got them defined. You've already got your delimitations and your limitations. You've already got those. All right. Slide 9 starts chapter 2. You need an overview of the organization of chapter 2, just the major bulleted sections that you've got in your dissertation. And then bullets continued, and then review of literature. You kind of give an operational definition of each of those sections. Again, and you get 2 slides to do that, and then kind of a summary of what you found in those major sections of your literature review. Again, 1 sentences. I mean, quick and dirty. What you find. Don't let this take you. These need to be big ideas here. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You get 6 slides for your literature review. But again, the first one introduces, here are my big sections of my literature review. One of them is PBIS, of course, and then the second one is this is the explanation of what that section is, and the third one is this is what I found. So you've got basically 3 sections, and you get 2 slides for each section.
Okay.
And Nicole, your literature review, you've done a good job on your literature review. So it's not there's nothing you may have to add based on some of the things that we're talking about, but you've got that section has been done well as far as I'm concerned already. A lot of it. So.
Yeah, it looked good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, give me just a minute. I had this one up, but I had to go back. All right, so what I'm talking about here is overview, tenets of PBIS, implementation, theoretical framework, necessary strategies, and implementation inventory. Those are your major sections. You understand that, right?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
talking about. All right. All right. Back to where we are here. Methodology. All right. Here's where we have some problems.
Okay.
This is a uh-oh. All right. Reading through your proposal. Number one, if you're doing interviews with people, you can't guarantee anonymity. You can only guarantee confidentiality.
Okay.
All right. Because we know who they are and we know what they said.
Right.
So, that can't be, anonymous is when you send out a double-blind survey and we don't know who answered the survey.
Who answered? Okay.
They go to a site, kind of like teacher working condition survey. You go to a website, nobody knows who logged in, and nobody knows who gave what answers, and we don't know who took the survey and who didn't. People are going to know who were interviewed and who weren't. We've identified them. So if we identify you, even though we hold your responses confidential, they're not anonymous. And so that's mostly for your IRB. All right, that's first thing. Second thing, you're going to interview 16 teachers at an elementary school?
Yes, sir.
Do you work at that elementary school?
No, sir.
All right. But you're just going to you're only going to get teachers from one school?
Yes, sir.
Ooh.
But you do have access to other schools if you need to.
Well, in our district, that is the only school that has completed the full implementation.
Okay.
I read that.
Okay, that's right. That's right.
I read that.
The other schools are at different stages.
Yeah, they're not
right
there yet. And so
I've forgotten. Nicole, do any of the schools, now you're Clinton City, do
Yes,
any
sir.
of the schools in the county school system near you, are they fully implementing it?
Yes.
Would you have access to one of those schools? Elementary
Yes.
schools.
Yes, sir.
So she could still make it work, Dr. Lamb. I know where you're headed. She could make it work because, the city school sits almost beside the county schools. So they share buses and everything else.
Are we in Sampson?
Yes, sir. Sampson.
Sampson. Yeah. You need a school from Sampson County
Okay.
to go along. Dr. Hamilton and I talked about this one specifically. You can't generalize your findings to anything other than that one school if all you do is collect data. If you collect qualitative data from that school, then we can only generalize the findings to that school.
Okay.
I don't think you'll have a problem with that, Nicole.
No, I don't want to have a problem.
So that fixes that problem. All right, let's move on then. So you're going to do the interviews?
Yes, sir.
We don't like that either.
Okay.
We can live with it. If you don't work at either of the schools where the data is collected, we can live with it.
Okay. I won't work at either one. I work at high school.
There you go. All right. So methodology is going to be, and you get a few words to explain what phenomenology is. PHENOMENOLOGY. Look at that. I spelled it right.
You get A+.
You're going to explain what phenomenology is, and then you're going to talk about your population and sample, which is your population is Sampson County, and your samples are from the two schools that you're going to pull them from.
Okay.
And you're going to pull 16 teachers from each.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And you're going to do interviews with guided questions.
Yes.
All right. And are you going to use software? Are you going to record these and put them in and use that software that pulls out common phrases, or you just...
The Novio, I was looking into using that. I was trying to find someone that had,
a professional coder?
yes.
I mean, you know, this is your data. Your data analysis comes now. And you coding either by a professional or software.
Okay.
That's what comes next.
Okay.
And then presentation of data. And then slide 20, you will summarize your methodology in that slide. That's what you'll do last. And then you'll present your findings in chapter 4 and conclusions in chapter 5.
Okay.
So when I say summarize your methodology, it's going to be phenomenal. These slides right here, the 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, you're going to have all that on one slide. This is what I'm going to do. And then I'll present my findings in chapter 4 and my conclusions in chapter 5.
Okay.
And there's your 20 slides.
Yes, sir.
All right. And so we have fixed the issues that Dr. Hamilton had in terms of about 2 schools now. You're going to conduct but you don't work at either one of them, so you can conduct the interviews with guided questions. Make sure again that your guided questions are not about we could change this or we could change that about the program, because that would not make it the program anymore. It wouldn't be PBIS, but more,
How about I send them to you and you look at them?
Yeah. But again, we want them to define what support means. We were given this, this, and this. This was helpful. That wasn't helpful. Well, what specifically, when you say they formed a committee or a team to help you, what help or support did they provide to you? Did they give you literature to read? Did they come to your room? What form did that support or help take? Because see, that's the hook here. That's what's important from your study is we got support. We know theoretically that if you support teachers in change programs, in adopting new programs, they're more successful. But what we don't know is what type of help that we met. Having to go to a meeting every week, not helpful. Just wasted my time. Having somebody come to my room and help me with data collection, very important. That kind of stuff.
Okay.
That's what we're looking for, not, we ought to take the reward system out, or, man, I can't stand that bouncing, or, that's way too much. No, that's not what we're talking about. That is of no value. What's of value is what worked and why did it work? What was the content of the help that they gave us? That's what a phenomenology is.
Okay.
And so, there you go. I'll save.
Okay. Nicole?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Based on what you've done and based on the things that Dr. Lamb and Dr. Hamilton have pointed out, based on what because I've been with you the whole time on a lot of this stuff. And Dr. Lamb and I've already talked.
Okay.
It would require, buckling down, but I really feel like you can do it. If we can confirm a date with Gardner-Webb, would you have this ready and be ready to present your your proposal by December the 7th?
Yes.
You can do that, okay. And I know you can. Dr. Lamb, are you okay with me moving forward with, based on what you've seen and what you've heard, are you okay with me moving forward with trying to secure a time on the 7th, since I'm going to be there already anyway with something else?
Yes.
Okay, I'll get back with you. I'm going to tentatively look at 11 o'clock on the December the 7th. That's based on what Seth tells me, based on what is available. But no matter what, I've got to be there at 1 o'clock anyway. So Dr. Lamb is there, Dr. Hamilton is there. So even if it means after 1 o'clock, we'll do it that afternoon if we have to, but we're preferring 11 o'clock that morning at this point, and I will confirm that with Seth by tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Are you okay with that, Nicole?
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Dr. Lamb, are you ready? Are you okay with that?
Good. I just sent you both the slideshow
Okay.
itinerary that we developed here tonight. Just sent that to you.
Okay. And I'll do this video, and Nicole, I'll send this to you as a link that you can go back and listen to if you need to as well.
Yes, please.
Okay.
And I will, as soon as we get off, I'll send you both the guided questions.
Okay. Dr. Lamb, do you have any more questions of Nicole?
Nope, I'm good.
Nicole, are you okay? You have any questions at this point? Now,
Go ahead.
from this point on, when you send me something, it's okay to send it to Dr. Lamb as well.
Okay.
Okay. It's okay. You know, from this point on, whatever you send me, you know, he and I, they accuse us of being hooked at the hips with some things anyway. So we share our work.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. You have any other questions?
I might send you guys some questions about, once you look at the guided questions, about how I need to do the focus group for the validation.
Do you have any comments on that now, Dr. Lamb?
No, that's you need to add that to your literature review.
Right.
How you go about validating an instrument, you know, for phenomenology. It's not nearly as involved as in other areas because, again, it's just basically guided questions and you don't have preconceived notions. But the big thing is you know, you have to guide them to, you know, what kind of help did you get and what was valuable, and stay away from, oh, if you could take this part out of the program, or them volunteering, I like this and didn't like that. Again, that's not what a phenomenology is. It's not a program review.
Nicole, who was the book that you used in Dr. Law's class for research? What was the name of that? Who was that author again? Creswell. Creswell's book. Creswell should talk about that.
I have the one about the 5 qualitative research design. So that's in addition to the one that Garner-Webb suggests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so what we're trying to do is we're trying not to jump the fence and get over into program evaluation.
Yes, sir.
I understand. That's why I'm saying this is more about the quality of what you got than commenting on different parts of the program. That's a program evaluation,
and that's more longitudinal. If you go with a program evaluation,
we don't want to jump that fence and get over in program evaluation, because that's a 2 or 3 year thing.
Yeah, let's not do that. No.
So that's why I'm saying you've got to phrase you got to guide them to the point where they aren't talking about what was good and bad in the program. That's program evaluation. And you got to avoid that, because that's going to bring data in, and we're going to have to jump over and do some quantitative to see if the numbers of incident referrals have gone down and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we don't
That's
want
not what your study's about. So you got to be clear in your guided questions that we're trying to find out what worked and what didn't work in terms of the help and support you got. What was that help and support? You know, what made it easier, adoption, what made this change easier, what facilitated it, what didn't, what in the staff development worked or didn't work. Was there staff development? What form did it take? Was it whole group? Was it small group? Was it one-on-one? What worked and what didn't work in these things, and the content of that help. That's what we're looking for here, not to evaluate different parts of the component or components of the program. I like this and I didn't like that. That's not what we got to stay away from that.
Okay.
Because that puts us over, and boy, that becomes longitudinal. That becomes a program evaluation, and your beard will be as long as mine before you get done with that. You would like to avoid that at all costs, and so that's now you're getting over on my side of the aisle, and I'd work you to death on a program evaluation. You don't want me being your chair on a program evaluation. The last one of those I did, that poor young lady that did that one, it was like carrying around an amble. It was so big. But when you do a program evaluation, it's a whole different animal. You got to do interviews, you got to do surveys, you got to collect data, you got to go. And I had her travel to different centers, programs around the state, and she was doing a program evaluation in one, but I had her go and look at 3 others, and interview them, and collect data from parents, and we did match pairs, and we by the time we got done, anything you can do, we did it. But that's what you do, because that one was real. Although it was her dissertation, we were doing it for a large school district, and there was $40 million on the line as to whether that school stayed open or not.
Oh, wow.
And so you don't you don't do a little a couple of questions and say, yeah, this is a good program, or no, it's a bad program. I mean, we had a lot of people whose jobs were depending on the outcome of this thing, and $40 million was riding on it. And so but you don't want to get into that. You don't have 3 years. That one took us 3 years.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to do that. And
No.
so and the way that you avoid that is the content of your guided questions.
Okay.
That's most important in the phenomenology, is because you're not going to have any kind of analysis of, you're not going to run statistical measures or frequency distributions or chi-square or regression or any of that. You're not doing in that. So really the importance of your study are the guided questions that you ask.
Okay.
To get the data that you're looking for.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Dr. Lamb, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
All
Nicole,
righty.
we'll be hearing from you. Okay. I'll confirm everything with Seth tomorrow and get an email to both of you and to Dr. Hamilton as well.
All righty.
Thank you.
Okay.
All righty.
Okay.
Good
I'm going
night.
to leave the meeting
Good
then.
night.
Okay. Good night.